Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Literacy Strategies and History Workshop. I'm Dr. Terrance Hudson. I'll be your facilitator for today, and I'm glad that you all could join me. Before we begin, I want to do an activity for us just to kind of get to know each other a little bit. This is something that I like to do with students early in the year. Uh, Oftentimes at the beginning of the year, we do what's called an identity chart or as we're learning about historical figures throughout the year, we may ask students to create an identity chart for a particular person in history. And some of you may be familiar with identity charts where you have the person's name in the middle of a page or some sort of diagram, and around their name, there's a list of attributes or characteristics of that person or that person's identity. But in this case, we want to do what's called a bio poem. Bio poem. All right, so each one of you will get the bio poem. And for the bio poem, you have 10 lines, and each line there's a prompt. All right, where you have to list a set of attributes or adjectives or things about yourself. You're going to create a bio poem about yourself. And once you're done, if you feel comfortable, share with the person next to you, just for a way of us to get to know each other a little bit in a more poetic or creative form. All right, looks like everyone is done. I guess since you guys had this and shared, I'll go and I'll share mine. Terrence, Karen, determined, tired, son of Lamar and Joyce, husband of Andrea, father of Vinny and Silas, football, history, love, joy, anxiety, fire, heights, germs, all state, nationally ranked, became an educator. Browns win the Super Bowl, lowered interest rates and inflation. Cleveland, Hudson. All right, so this could be fun. This could be serious, but it's a way for us to get to know each other, for your students to get to know each other, or throughout the year where instead of or switching up from an identity chart, you might want to have your students create a bio poem for a particular figure or person in history. So I wanted to start with that just to kind of break the ice a little bit. So here's what to expect. All right, what to expect? Some of the things we're going to cover today. New literacies. All right, so what are new literacies or non-traditional literacies, if you want to call them? Uh, a reading strategy. We're going to look at a reading strategy, a writing strategy, and then shared document spaces. Shared document spaces. Okay. All right, new literacies and non-traditional text. New literacies have transformed the way we write, think, communicate, and make meaning. All right. Students today are experiencing literacy from everywhere and in all forms, even in the palm of their hand with their phone, the things that they look at, images, text from other students, articles, things that they stumble across online, memes. So it's all forms of uh, new literacies. But let's look at some digital literacies, or anything that you might see online, web quests, blogs and blogs, all right, or video blog or blog podcasting, wikis and websites, all right, internet inquiries, okay, inquiry based or questions where students have to research using the internet, and then actually games is huge in our culture these days with young people or with students, our learners, and they actually learn a lot from games. The storylines can be very detailed and intricate. That's a new literacy. All right, and then what I call non-traditional text, comics, one of my favorites, graphic novels, picture books, magazines, all right, and then AI generated text. Okay, within the last couple of years, advancement in technology, we see text through generated through AI. All right. One of the things I want to focus on here is a new literacy or non-traditional text is comics and graphic novels in the classroom. All right. Comics can encourage the desire to read since they are a format that children find exciting. I loved comics growing up. I was a huge Marvel Comics fan throughout grade school. I collected comics, whether comic books, even the comic cards. And I think it was one of the things that helped me excel in reading as a youngster because it was one of the few things that I would read. I didn't read much in the way of novels or things like that. But when it came to comics, I was all about it. Sports as well. So these were ways that I did pick up on literacy. All right. So I want to look at comics from a standpoint of teaching what we call hard history. All right, history that involves discrimination, racism, all right, segregation, points in our history that have been tough to talk about in the classroom. All right. So one of the things that comics does is eases tension surrounding these topics. And believe it or not, comics have address these issues of sexism, racism, discrimination throughout history. Comics have touched on that. I think about X-Men. We're talking about mutants. The mutants were discriminated against. You know, they were other. They were looked at as the outcasts. They were being pushed out and pushed to the margins. So these are some of the things that they address. Comics could be more exciting, more engaging, all right, and help those who struggle with reading, because you also have images to go along with them as well. Uh, one, as using this as an example, I want to take a look at the Tulsa Race Massacre. So if I can go here to the Atlantic page, okay, and they had an article that came out, I believe it's 2019, the Massacre of Black Wall Street. All right, it involves the Tulsa Greenwood neighborhood that was razed to the ground after a young African American man was accused of uh, bumping into or somehow accosting a white woman on an elevator, all right, which triggered a chain reaction where a angry white mob was looking to basically lynch him, but in the process, they burned down the town. Many African Americans were killed in this process. Businesses destroyed. All right, so that's a hard topic, a tough topic. All right, but the Atlantic took this on in the form of a graphic novel. So we have the website here. It starts with talking about giving some background to the neighborhood and of what happened that day. Also give more narrative here. Here's you as the teacher, me as the teacher, can go through this with students, okay, before they get into the graphic novel piece. A little BDA or before, during, after, but this would be the before part. So what will you do before getting into the topic? And then as we get down here, it gets into the actual comic or the graphic novel. All right. And as you go through, it has the pictures, very detailed. Students find this interesting. They find it easy to look at, easy to digest such content in this form. All right. And then you can have a discussion of it, or you may want to create some questions or something where students can respond afterwards. Right? They want to know, well, why are we doing this? What's the end result? Okay, so that's one thing that I like to look at, being the bio poem, or sorry, looking at comics in the classroom. All right, reading strategies. All right, the one reading strategy I want to look at, just I touched on it a little bit on the last slide, is the before, during, after BDA. This is something I often engage in the classroom. The purpose of BDA framework is to foster purposeful, active reading. Okay, so you're not just giving students text and say, all right, read this and then do this, or start here and then do that. All right, you're kind of setting it up. You're setting the stage. You're priming the students before the reading. Okay, so before reading, you can review vocabulary. All right, have a group discussion in class about the topic. All right, writing prompts. Okay, you may want to get them, or we call writing exploration, where they write as much as they know about a topic beforehand before actually reading about it, or word exploration. Sorry. Okay, so some before reading. Just a quick example here. Here is an AI generated uh, article, and it has sources as well. Sources are linked. But before you get in actually to the meat of the reading, you have key terms and definitions that will be helpful for students to know. So oftentimes before we begin the actual reading, all right, and students wouldn't have this yet because oftentimes they'll jump down and jump straight into the reading. I actually want to go over the vocabulary first with the class. We'll talk about the definitions, we'll talk about the example sentence, and then I'll invite students to give some of their personal experience that may be related to one of the terms. Have you ever experienced? Was there ever a time? What do you think about this or that? And then students will often chime in. Okay, go back up here. All right, during reading, checkpoints throughout reading. Actually charting. So what are you having students doing as they are reading? Okay. Would there be checkpoints to check for understanding? Or is there any questions in between? Is there something that students will have to chart or do as they read? Okay. So guided note taking. Okay. So is there any notes that students will be taking as they read? And then are there any questions to do while students are reading? Okay. Or any group discussion as we read? And then the after reading. After reading, you have partner or small group discussion, large group discussion, comprehension questions, or a big takeaway. What's the big takeaway? Students may have to write this or express it verbally in their mind. So these are all options, right? Writing prompt as well. All right, and then we have writing character journals and unsent letters. All right, this is the writing strategy that I want to cover. All right, a character journal is a non-threatening way to have students demonstrate their knowledge about a topic under study. So here's the benefits: inspires creativity through role play. All right, for instance, I have students read letters or journals from those who would have been in the trenches in World War One. We look at videos of a short video about the trenches, then we will read actual letters that people or journals that World War soldiers would have wrote, and then our students in turn put themselves into the shoes of those in the trenches, and they create their own letter or their own journal entry. And it's fun, it's exciting for students. It allows them to use their own voice, and allows them to be creative. And honestly, this is some of the most fun days in class where students actually get up and present or publish and share what they created in their journal. Okay, makes it more meaningful, leads to deeper understanding of the topic or the material. And then lastly, share document spaces. Okay, share document spaces allow students to share content and work collaboratively. We use this often. Here are some of the types you may be familiar with: Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, iCloud, where students can work collaboratively, whether it's on Google Slides or or a Google Doc, working on a graphic organizer together with a partner. One person downloads it, they shares it with someone in the class. Here's an example of what's known as the Frayer model, where students work collaboratively on a Google slide, all right, where, for instance, this is vocabulary, looking at Latin America, Latin revolutions, the encomienda system, or that system of forced labor or slavery in the Spanish colonies. All right, we have the word here in the middle, and then each student is responsible for one of the boxes. One student supplies connecting terms, the other one puts the definition, and then the historical context. One student adds a relating image. And then as students roll through the slides in each vocabulary word, their task will change. So each student has a chance at doing one of the other things there. All right, shared document spaces allow students to work collaboratively. And I can also peek in real time as students are working. All right, whether they're working on the Google Doc or on the Google slide. And I use Google as the example because that's what I'm most familiar with using. That's what we use in our class room. All right, so shared document spaces. All right, here are our sources. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or contact me. Thank you all for participating in this workshop. All right, have a good day.